Wakaranamahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayana Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namaha. Om Shri Radha Krishna Namaha. Om Shri Naranarayana Namaha. Om Shri Umamheshwaraya Namo Namaha. Om Shri Siyavara Ramachandraya Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya. Om Sarva Mangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Sarva Mangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Shri Guru Stotram Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakya Chakshurum Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Reva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om. Okay, welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing today on the further contemplation of Bhagwan Shankar drinking the poison and the analogy regarding that. So the fourth aspect of this is the holding of the poison in the neck. Shiva doesn't digest it, doesn't swallow, he holds it in the neck, doesn't let it go down, and doesn't bring it out also. So there is so much to be said about that. First of all, to hold a difficulty inside, because this is for us, this is for our life, to hold it with steadiness is transformative. Whenever there is any challenge in front of us, any goal that we have in front of us, any kind of an obstacle in front of us, rather than to get overwhelmed or to get overrun by the obstacle or the difficulty, to remain so much in touch with it so that you can move through it, get through it. See, that is the transformative power of Bhagwan Shiv and the great sages. All of the great sages who are, quote, great, whatever the greatness actually is, it has to do with this, as we have been saying, that the holding of the poison is something that requires tremendous clarity. And remember, what does this poison refer to? It refers to many things. It refers to internally generated vasanas, unending desires, tormenting dreams, all kinds of psychosomatic problems that are generated from within. That's part of the meaning. The other part of the meaning are the series of difficulties that come from the outside, from everywhere, from friends, family, from whatever, from nature, from job, occupation, from anywhere from anything from the outside that causes a potential difficulty, it is a dangerous or tricky situation where there is the possibility of a lot of damage and harm occurring. In that situation, when Shiva is teaching us to hold on, don't do anything right away. You know what they say, the things that are against the precepts of dharma, do not do them right away. Do not do them at all, in fact. And those that is to be done in the precept of the dharma, do it right away. Don't delay that. In Shikshapatri, Swaminarayan Bhagwan also mentioned, dharmanu kam tatkal karu. The things that ought to be done in our life, we know that are beneficial, don't delay them. Do them right away. Because that will accumulate punya. It will also take us further to God. It will be benefit for everybody. but things that we should not do, ought not to do, which we want to do. That non-doing, even when you want to do it and you don't do it, that's holding the poison. And there we go. The thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy, the 5 things, the 5 inner aspects of the reality within, particularly the mental reality within. When desire props up to not go in that direction, is holding the poison, the difficulty, the damage that the desire is going to cause. Every scriptural text is talking about desire and not acting upon it right away. Every sadhu, every guru, every teacher, if they're genuine, they're talking about that. It doesn't mean you're destroying just desire. It has to do with seeing that ichha, desire comes up, as I mentioned several times before already, that ichha is going to come. But is it the type of desire that is going to generate poison within the system, within the mind, within the body, within the relationships, etc.? Desires are of innumerable types, and so we can classify them in 4 different ways. So there are 4, think of it like a grid, like 4 boxes. So in the first box, you have desires that if you fulfill them are going to cause you benefit. If you have second box is desires that if you fulfill them, that are going to cause you harm. The third possibility is that if you have desire and it is not fulfilled, it doesn't cause you harm. And if you have desire and it is not fulfilled, it causes you harm. Those are 4 possibilities. So whenever desires come up, that I want this, I want to do this, I feel, because of the experience it is going to provide. The interesting thing about this charitra of Bhagwan Shiv, when the poison is being held, that poison was the result of the churning of that ocean. And this is what occurs. Sometimes poison comes up that is not seen as poison. It looks like something that we should do. And we don't know that. Look at, for example, the development of nuclear power as an example. How much mental churning, mental contemplation went into the development of these nuclear reactors, nuclear weapons, nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is it's a technology that has been developed, from that time period when it got started. But the power behind it is so intense, it can destroy the whole of humanity over 100 times. If one time wasn't enough, it still destroy over and over again. That's how many weapons there are. That same power can be utilized to light up the world and to do wonderful things. Similarly, the energy within desire can be highly, highly destructive. To recognize that the energy within my desire, or my desire itself, my ichha, nij ichha, is potentially destructive, harmful, dangerous. It is going to damage myself, others, my mind, others also. It is going to cause damage. That awareness, that recognition, that intelligence, that awakening of the intelligence is the basis for holding the poison, because the ichha is going to come. What are you going to do with it? And this is the difficulty. People don't know what to do with awakened desire. And that desire awakens and says, oh, I should do this. Then the mind runs with it, the brain runs with it, it just goes on until the point of the fulfillment of it, and then potentially harm. So holding the poison means recognizing the poisonous nature of that desire, the damaging nature of that desire, the wanting, the longing, the craving, etc. And leaving it alone. not spewing it out, not letting it come back inside your system and growing from within and harming you. It comes up, you hold inside at the neck level. That is the Vishuddhi chakra. Vishuddhi chakra is right there, and you hold the desires in the Vishuddhi chakra because you want to do something with it. You want to say something. It's pushing you to act. Don't act. Don't do anything. Don't take that desire and just deliberately push it away inside your system. It will come back with a rebounding force. That's not going to work either. Hence, Shiva is teaching us, Bhagwan Shankar is teaching us not to suppress and not to indulge in toxic desires. Toxic desires. We think of toxic substances, right? Outside, that we don't want inside our mind or inside our body, etc. From within our own system, there are toxic desires that are going to cause tremendous amount of damage, potentially. To recognize the toxicity within the desire when it awakens is holding that desire within the Vishuddhi chakra. And that holding is the Guru Tattva that becomes active. So the intelligence that comes from satsang, from the grace of the saints, from their contact, all of their words, their teachings, their ideas, their form, and also, most importantly, the bhakti towards the Paramatma. When these desires come about, the intelligence to leave them alone and not run with them, but to take that same energy and apply it towards meditation on God, bhakti of God. That is the transformation of that poisonous nature of that desire into Amrit. How the poison transforms into Amrit? It transforms within us. It transforms beautifully within us when we see the raw power in it, and inside the awakened desires, Ichha Shakti, and take that power, take that energy and utilize it for devotion, not destructive emotion. That is the difference. That is the technology. It is a psychosomatic, psycho-spiritual technology that is taught in the scriptures and particularly by the lives of the enlightened beings. And that technology, when we bring it inside, Gurudevo Maheshwaraha, that the divinity that is within us, the Atma Tattva, we become more aligned with the Atma and its nature rather than the vortex of the mind that is created by the causal body, the Karana Sharira. So, the actual holding of desire that is worthy of contemplation and meditation. In Vachanamrutam, Sajanand Swami Maharaj has stated this in many different ways. One of the ways he has mentioned this, in Gujarati language, it is Mannu kahe e na kare e jnani. Jnani kisko kehte hai? Just because you want to do something, but you don't act upon that, when you realize that this is not to be done, that is Jnana. Not acting upon certain desires that come about because of seeing through them, that is Jnana. It is not about how much somebody is talking or how much verbal knowledge somebody has. No. That is information. That is a certain talent maybe. That is a certain seva also, like I'm trying to do, Sachin is trying to do. That's okay. Up to that point is okay. But real Gnan is not just verbal expositions or something external. No, no, no. Sacha Gyan kisko kehte hai? That one who doesn't get caught in Maya. Gunatitanand Swami also stated this. Jo khare kharu Gnan thai to Maya na pech ma na ave. That means one will not get caught inside the bounds of Maya. Maya will not catch you once you have proper knowledge, proper wisdom. Let's put it this way. Gnan is wisdom. That's the barometer. How do we know that we are progressing spiritually, we're progressing internally? We know that we can experience that by not getting caught in Maya. That is our barometer. That's the barometer. There's nothing else. और भगवान के साथ जो link जो बांधते हम, the linkage with Bhagwan, with God, that linkage is where the ananda comes from. Because Bhagwan itself, जो अक्षरातीत परमात्मा है, जो मूल स्वरूप है भगवान का, which we are going to talk about in the next series, in the next part of this verse, Brahma Parabrahma. That is called Anandakand, और वो एक ही है. भगवान दो नहीं है. God is not two different things. Whatever God is one. Whatever it is, whatever the actual reality, it is one. It's not two. Ekameva dvitiyam brahma. In the Vedas this is written. And that is referenced in Vachanamrita. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, if you look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you look at the 18 Puranas, the thread that runs through, even though there are different deities described, each deity is shown as predominant in the particular Purana because of the significance of the glory of that particular form of God. But God is one. God is not two. So in that sense, our progression towards Paramatma is only possible when every desire that props up from within is coming from Saddvasana, and all of the Asaddvasana is gone. So there's two things, Saddvasana, Asaddvasana. Asaddvasana is that poison. Asaddvasana transforms into Amrit and becomes nectar, that is called Amrutadham. You are flooded with the ocean of the nectarine bliss of God. That actual transformation is possible, and in fact it is the thing that we are born for. It is the thing, it is the purpose of life. If somebody says, what is the purpose? You can have 1,000 answers. 1,000 answers as to what is the purpose of life. But what is the actual main purpose of life? Dheyo Narayano Harihi. This realization of God, Bhagavan, Paramatma, Divya Ananda. And that occurs when Asaddvasana transforms into Saddvasana completely. And in Saddvasana, there is more and more and more inclination and desire and wanting to be connected with Bhagavan, and the joy that comes from that, where all of the limited small vasanas that are there, or sometimes they're very potent vasanas, but they are asat. They are not going to take you to God, they're going to bind further in that experience. But when they are transformed, they're not suppressed, they're not just run after endlessly. No, they are transformed from within. So that transformation is the internal, is the internal energy, energy change. Is the flow of energy in a different direction. The flow of energy towards God, Bhagavan, through dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti, brahmacharya, etc. It is a transformation of the energy. And that is the Guru Tattva. The Guru Tattva is where, if you look at the lives of the great sages, they have spent their every free moment in the contemplation on Bhagwan. They don't waste time. They have recognized the preciousness of time, and they have recognized that the ultimate thing to get in life or to realize is God. So, and they still do other things that they need to do, but they don't waste any time. For us, so many people, we don't even know how to use our time even for beneficial activities in regular day-to-day routine. But the fact of the matter is, yes, we can learn from them that every moment is extraordinarily valuable. And if it is utilized for the sakshatkar of Paramatma through Guru Kripa, through Sadguru Kripa, as this verse is saying, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwar, creative, sustaining and destructive ability, the three that we have already talked about, when they come inside, that the creation of our intelligence towards the intelligence and bhav and everything towards God, that is one meaning of Brahma. The sustenance of the spiritual wisdom, Gunatitananda Swami stated, Jo thoduj gnan hoye pun deha paryant sardar rahe to saro. A little bit of wisdom is fine, but little bit of wisdom that sustains for one's whole life will lead to enlightenment. It's not volumes of wisdom. Don't need volumes of wisdom. We need small amount that really is digested inside, that really remains. It's a small amount. See, like Sachin has made all these recordings and presentations. That's okay. That's for my own bhakti and seva, and to offer something to the world as a seva through Guru Agnya. That's all. And that is the way we are expressing our knowledge and so many things. But volumes of scriptures are not required for God realization. It's how much is digested. And that's what Shiva is teaching us. Bhagwan Shiva is teaching us that yes, recognize the difficulties, the poisons from the inside and the outside. Hold them. Hang on to them and transform them. Hang on to them and transform. People say, hang on to poisons? When desire props up, that is asad vasna, hang on to it. Say, oh, you're here. Oh, I see you. I'm the watcher of that. I see what is going on. Bring the Guru in at that point. Guru worship, true Guru Nishta, Sadguru Nishta, is when that poisonous asad vasna shows up. Bring the Guru at that point. Who is doing that? In fact, what the mind is and the desires are telling us, throw everything else out except that to fulfillment of the desire. At that point, doesn't matter how much knowledge somebody has or wisdom has or whatever it is, everything is put away. I want to do this, I don't really care what happens. No other thought is there, no other feeling is there, no other. That means the vasana is very, very strong. In fact, in Vachanamrutam, Maharaj has said something quite remarkable. He says if you have equal levels, where 50% is, asad vasana, so much desires for worldly things and other things, and 50% is towards God and bhakti and all that. He says even in their 50-50, vasana should be considered to be balvan. Balvan meaning vasana is very strong still. It's intense. Even if they're at 50-50 level. What a statement that is. And if we see within, which is what the purpose of the scriptures are, the teachings of all of the sages, they are there so we can look directly within. Oh, this is happening. So the scriptures are like a mirror. You can see yourself where you are as you're reading the scriptures. Reading the teachings. Oh, I'm here. I'm stuck like this. Oh my God. Why should I be stuck like this? Why should I? So now this internal dialogue begins. The dialogue within oneself. One becomes one's own guru. What does that mean? That means that the outside gurus, outside teachers come inside. And if we don't bring them inside, it's useless. For example, I have a cup of coffee here. I can make the cup of coffee, I can smell it, I can touch the cup, I can say it's a beautiful cup. If I don't put it in my mouth, what's the point? Even if I put it in my mouth, if I don't swallow, what's the point? If I swallow, but if it doesn't go into my stomach, what's the point? If it goes into my stomach, if it doesn't get digested, what is the point? And vomit it out. 99% of the people जो quote satsang करते हैं ना, वो vomit out करते हैं satsang. I hate to use that analogy. That's why we don't realize God. Millions of people have been listening to these ideas for generation after generation. Why only few people have become enlightened? Why is that? Because all of these things, even if they're heard, they're put in the mouth, they're swallowed, even if it goes in the stomach to some extent or another, the asad vasanas within the jivatma are going to take that satsang and throw it right out of the system with just a thought, with just a desire. That is the power of asad vasana. It will not allow the individual to digest, and if the satsang gets digested within the system, the truths of the scriptures, the lies of the sages, dharma, jnana, vairagya, bhakti, beautiful devotional principles, if it actually gets digested, the jivatma becomes the Shiva, becomes Brahma Rupa. He goes into the Brahmic state quite quickly. But because we are spitting out the satsang, rather than throwing out our ignorance, and actually Shiva is even saying, don't throw out your ignorance also on anybody. That's another thing which we do. We're even if somebody puts that sweetness of the satsang in our mouth, we will spit it out, and then the poisons from within and outside we're distributing like prasadam as humanity. And then everybody is trying to find some perverted enjoyment in that. So how can anybody get enlightened that way? How is that even possible? इसीलिए Gunatitanand Swami said something else very significant. All of this is going on. He said, see, this is the nature of this world. Don't worry about that. Recognize what we need to do. Like Sachin is speaking right now for who? For what? Because 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 200,000 people, someday will say, oh Sachin, you're some great scholar, you're some this, you're that. Is that why I'm doing that? No. This is only for me. This is only for my own development. Whatever is spoken is 100% for me, by the grace of the sages. And as a student on this path to learn more, because the more we discuss, the more we talk, the more we grow. But if it's not digested within me, it is a massive X. Bada X hai usme. It's a big zero. You know, some people make small zeros in life. And if I'm creating, I use myself as an example, create, let's say, 500 hours of these talks. And then my intention is, oh, you know, that somebody should say some good things, my name should be there, this should be there, that should be. Some kind of mental stuff is going on like that. You know what that does to that 500 hours of satsang? It's a very big zero. It may even be helpful to others, but to me it's nothing. Because I haven't digested any of it. What's the point? So those who are true sages, in satsang we say there is ekantik sthiti. They have digested these things. They have digested every aspect of spiritual realization. They have digested, what it means to be tolerant. Just tolerance even itself is every quality is so immense. Chapter 16 Bhagavad Gita, the Daivi Gunas are there. The 64 qualities of the sages are shown in Hari Gita. The Sthita Prajna Lakshana are shown. Scriptures are there, 30 qualities of saints. People have been talking about them for years. It's good to know them. Digest. How much is it digested? And that's really where the Kurukshetra exists. Yes, there is a physical Kurukshetra. The Kurukshetra, that battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas and all, Krishna is the Sarathi and Arjuna is the warrior. In another aspect, that is we, that is us. That whole battle is going on within all the time. And we don't want that battle. There is a backdoor approach, as we stated, the via negativa, to jump into enlightenment. That all of these ideas that Sachin is presenting, and through the scriptural understanding and gurus and all that, is all Sachin needs to do is to say, I am that. Aksharam Aham. In the Swaminarayan branch that is known as BAPS, this is their main teaching. Aksharam Aham Purushottama Dasosmi. In the Bhagavad Gita, Nijatmanam Brahmarupam. I can decide, I can jump into this mentally in my mind, say, this is who I am. I am the Brahman. I am the Shiva. I am outside of all of these entanglements. And holding the satsang within. You know, when we begin to hold the divine truths within us, that when they are held within us, my God, the link with God, भगवान के साथ जो संबंध हम जोड़ते हैं, the link with भगवान, that link is solidified, maintained, solidified, enhanced, and stabilized by holding the Guru Tattva within, meaning holding all of the scriptural understanding and wisdom within, as well as the opening up of saintly qualities. All of that, when you hold it within, in Vachanamrita it is written, Dharvu Vicharu, Dharvu Vicharu. Hold and contemplate. Hold and contemplate. Holding and contemplating is the transformation of the asadvasana. It transforms from inside out. But one has to be very careful. The ego is reactive. The ego doesn't have the wisdom. It is functioning based on its own demands. But when it begins to realize, no, that there is nothing there's nothing in the sansar, no thing, no person, place, what thing that is going to provide the door, that is going to give me eternal joy. It is just a wave on the ocean, it's a temporary experience, as I mentioned many times. When that realization comes, the individual naturally retracts within. Yada sandharate chayam kurumo angani va sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthe bestasya prajna pratishtita. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Just as the tortoise withdraws the limbs inside and remains steady and protected and is living in its own glory within. It's an analogy. Similarly, the running in the sansara stops. Doesn't mean we're not going different places. Yeah, go have diverse experiences. It's fine. But the realization of the Atma is never lost. The kingly state is a king. The lion of the jungle goes anywhere in the jungle, never forgets he's the lion. It's like that. So that is the glory of holding the poison. That is poison meaning asadvasana and all the other problems, external, internal. Transforming them into sadvasana is a very big thing. The scriptures, if you go through every scripture, lives of sages, this is what they have done. They have taken their own internal damaging desires and transformed them. And they are very cautious to not spread the poison. In Swaminarayan Satsang and others everywhere, we say, Kisi ka abhav avgun nahi lena. Don't take faults of others. He said, what good will come out of that? Maharaj inside the Vachanamrita, Pratham number 6, he stated, see your own fault. Find the good qualities of others. That is Viveka. Hold on to the good qualities of others. Keep your attention on your progress. Keep attention on where you are deficient. And by doing that, and by worshipping God and the grace of the sages and scriptures, one progresses towards God very rapidly. But generally the jiva is doing just the opposite. it is completely bent on finding faults with others. It sees them right away and it thinks about that day and night. But all you have to do is turn on the news. All you have to do is turn anywhere, and what you find are people just finding so many things wrong with others. Not always, but many times. But for one who wants to realize the Atma ka jo gyan hai, the realization of the Atma and the realization of the Paramatma within the Atma. That actual realization, not just a belief, but actual realization, jisko sakshatkar kehte hain. One has to see one's deficiency. One has to recognize deficiency or the other words would be faults, one's own inner faults, antar shatru and all that. One has to see them clearly that they are deficiency. One cannot see deficiency unless one recognizes it first that this is a deficiency. It's like when we go for a blood work and say, oh, somebody has low iron level. Well, recognize it first. Do the testing first. They say, oh, there's a deficiency, vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin this, vitamin that, vitamin deficiency. You recognize, do the testing first. Oh, there's a deficiency here. So how do you do the testing? The testing is done through the scriptures and by the sages' lives. This is what they're saying. Where am I? And where am I? Is that taking me towards the higher reality, or is it spinning me around? It's a conversation. All of this thing is an internal conversation. Recognizing the deficiency and then taking steps to resolve the deficiency. That is the transformation of the poison that is held in the throat by Bhagwan Shiva. Nilakantha. Wow. Amazing, amazing. And this is the glory of spiritual life. Spiritual life is not something that is externally focused. Sometimes people are, like I mentioned it many times, people think of religious organizations and different gurus, and there's so many of them around that's a great thing. They're beautiful. Begin with them. But they're not the end. They're the means to this end, to the end of direct realization. They're ladders. They can take you to a certain stage. But you start getting into discussions with others in different paths and all that. Yeah, all that is all okay. Realize it. If you realize the Atma, you're not going to have any division with anybody. Impossible. Doesn't matter what the differences are. There could be a million differences. It's not going to make any difference. There could be a million differences. It won't make any difference. And without the realization of the Atma, all we see is difference. All we see is differentiation. All we see is division. And that is the great teaching here of Bhagwan Shankar. Right? So there are a few more aspects of Shiva that we are going to cover. About the moon on the head, the Trishul, the snake. Alright. So those, and then the Mrugasas. So I will cover them within the next couple of days. And then we will move into that second part of the verse. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. What is Brahma? This word comes up again and again. Brahma kya hai? What is Brahma? Bhagavad Gita also, Sri Krishna is asked by Arjuna, what is Brahma? Kim Tad Brahma? Chapter 8. So we're going to get into what that word means, where it comes from, what is the history of that, what do the scriptures say, what is Brahma versus Parabrahma, what is the Atma. It is going to get a bit more metaphysical, but I'll try to keep it realistic also at the same time. We'll see how that goes, because it is a much greater and very fascinating discussion on the Brahmand, on the millions of Brahmands, how they are created and destroyed, not to mention the actual the different abodes of God. All of those things are going to be talked about. I'll be referring to scriptures like Brahma Samhita, Vedas, as well as Srimad Bhagavatam, what the transcendental beings are. These are high-level metaphysics, and particularly the different bodies that they have, how they are depicted. So all of that amazing discussion is going to happen after we finish with but after we conclude our section on Bhagwan Shiv, then we will then go into the Brahma Parabrahma, and then the Archi Marg, and what is involved in that, what is actually outside the body. When we leave this body, what are the different, it's called Upasnana Bhed. So we'll be talking about Gopal Swamini Vato, that's just describe Muktana Bhed. There are different Muktas also, there are different levels of Muktas also. So there's some amazing things are there that probably most general public has probably never ever heard of. But we're going to get into that. It's going to be most interesting, and it'll be a challenge for me to try to present it in a meaningful way without getting lost in the high-level metaphysics. All right, so we'll stop here for now, and we'll pick this up tomorrow.